Yes. Recording in progress.
No, yes.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
You can off your video, this is audio only.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Simon. Simon, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Abhijit, can you hear me?
Yes.
How was the day?
Good. How doing?
I'm doing okay. As we discussed yesterday for the installation of Java, hope you have done that. Did you finish the installation part?
Yes.
Okay. What about others?
Yes.
Simon, did you finish the installation process? Java.
Yes.
Okay. So let me share my screen, and from there we'll start. Hope you guys can see my screen. If you remember yesterday's session, we discussed about up to the 1 second. Yeah, we discussed the three different types of Java editions, like Java to platform standard editions, which is used to basically develop a console application we call as a core Java in common language. And we have a J2EE API that is basically to develop a client server application, or we can say like enterprise project, and that we called basically an advanced Java. And another we call it J2ME API, Java to platform micro editions. So that basically we called as Android development applications. The app we will be used in the mobile devices. Java API documentation. So API is what? An application programming interfaces. This is just a library of functions and classes that provides a list of objects or the classes to the user with examples and its description. As a developer, I have to know the different API and the packages which is introduced by the Java, right? Which is introduced by Java technologies. So that all we can use as a reference whenever we do develop a applications in the real time, right? So those resources is basically very useful for programmer whenever they do develop such project in the real time environment. And this is the API documentation. Let me just open and show you how it look like. See, Java trademark platform standard edition 7 API specification. So as you can see, there are list of packages we have, right? And we have a description, means which packages for what purpose we use. So let me go through one packages that is introduced by Java. Let's say, for example, java.lang packages. Okay, so it provides the classes that are fundamental to the designing of Java programming languages, right? So it basically provides the fundamental stuff that we use to develop a common application designing and development. So if I'll go inside these packages, then I can see some classes, some interfaces, and some object. You can see here. So list of interfaces, list of classes. So let's say if I'm going to use the object class, okay. If I'm going to use the object class, then I should know what is the use of this. So class object is the root of the class hierarchy. And that means this is the super class of all the class that you create in Java. Now let's go inside the class to see what are the methods that it contains. Go inside the object class. Yes. Now, as a developer, if I'm going to use this object class, then I can go through this, reference, and I can see all this method that it contains. So you have something called get class method. You can see here, finalize methods, and get class methods, hash code method, something you have a clone methods, equals method, right? So if I want to know what exactly the return type of this method, you can see here all the method return type. So if you look into the equals, its return type is a boolean, right? And what is the use of this equals method? It indicates whether some other object is equal to this one or not. Some other object is equal to this one or not. That means this is used basically for comparison. If you do the comparison, right, so then you will use this equals method in Java, right? So if you want to know, okay, how I can use that, what is the syntax to use this, then I will just click over here and I can see some reference, I mean the syntax that I can use it here. Okay, so you will get the entire details, what is the use of this and how it will be work on it. So this is all about the API, which contains the list of packages. This contains each packages will have some inbuilt classes, object method that is already introduced by Java. As a developer, we can use as a reference to develop such application. You can get more details with the syntax knowledge. Next, JVM and Java memory. So what is JVM? We discussed yesterday. That is a Java virtual machine. It is an abstract machine, means internally it is used of every platform. It is basically a specification that provides the runtime environment in which Java bytecode can be executed. Java bytecode can be executed. So basically it provides a specific environment of every platforms that provide a runtime environment where the bytecode can be executed. What is the bytecode? Bytecode is something, a machine understanding language that will be generated as a .class files after you successfully compile our source code. Whenever we execute the bytecode during the runtimes, JVM follows certain task. What exactly the task? Load the code, verify the code, execute the code, and provide runtime environment. Load the code. What exactly the meaning of load the code? As you know, JVM is basically allocate the memory, and JVM also taking care of your runtime environment of every platforms, right? So as you know, when JVM is playing a role to allocate the memory in a different memory structure, so it is responsible for JVM to load the code. What type of code? Bytecode, because we are going to execute only the bytecode, right? So JVM is going to load the bytecode into your memory. After that, JVM will verify the bytecode, means this bytecode is able to understand by the targeted platforms where you are trying to execute. If yes, then it will execute. If not, then it will be converted into the machine understanding languages and then it will be executed. Let's say, for example, I'm giving my bytecode, which is generated in the Windows, but you are using, let's say, for example, I can say Simon is using something, let's say a Linux platform, right? So this bytecode that is generated in my machine will not able to understand in your Linux platform. So what will happen in that scenario? What will happen in that scenario? The Linux operating systems having its own JVM, which will converted its machine understanding language code, right? And once the code is verified, I mean it's converted and verified, then it will execute the code and then it provides the runtime environment. It provides the runtime environment, means it's basically provide a runtime platform where the program can be executed. So this is how it works. Basically, we have a class loader that is responsible to load the classes. Okay, Java runtime system Java runtime systems. During the runtime of the code, JVM is taking care of the memory structure. So we have a class loader, that is the class loader responsible is to loading the bytecode file, means your .class file. The class loader responsible is to loading the .class files, means your bytecode files. So once the class is loaded, then it will allocate certain memory into certain structure. So we have a class area, we have a heap memory area, we have a stack memory area, we have a PC register, we have a native method stack. There are many more things we should know internally, which is taken care by the JVM. So once the class is going to load it, first the class has to be stored into the class area. The class has to store into the class area. Object will go to the heap memory area. Any local variables or method that will go to the stack memory area. PC register will have a counter, currently programmed execution over the systems. Native method stack is basically which will identify the inbuilt function or the classes that we have used from the API. Okay, so once everything is set up, once everything is identified, then JRE, I mean the platform of JVM, which will start execution, and then you can see the output on our interfaces. I mean our console. Step 5, JVM and Java memory. Java memory is a process of assigning or allocate memory for a new object and clear the unused object to create a new memory space. Java always taking care of to allocate the memory and deallocate the memory. So what do you mean by allocate and deallocating? Allocate the memory is something whenever you are creating an object, whenever you are initialize some values, right? Whenever you are creating an instance for the class, all the stuff has to be stored somewhere in your memory. And JVM is doing that. We already have discussed, right? If that object is not used by the programmer for a long time, so what will happen? That object has to be deallocated. So who is doing that? We have a garbage collection. If you remember, we discussed already yesterday, right? So we have a process, automatic deallocation process is taken care by the garbage collection of every system, right? And if you talk about the memory, then as a developer, you should know two important memory area. One is a heap memory and the other one is stack memory. What is the heap memory and what is the stack memory? Heap memory is something which is used to store the object, and stack memory is something which will store the methods, variables, and as well as reference of every object that you create. If you will say, I need the details how it works, let me show you a small example here. See, heap store all objects created by the Java application along with instance variables. Instance variables nothing but object variables, and the objects are stored in the heap. Okay. Stack store method and local variables. As I said, even it stores the reference of variables of an object in the heap. Look into this small example. Let me just increase the font size a little bit, make it 100%. Yeah. So 1 second. Yeah, I have a object called cert. Okay, I have a class. This is the class called cert, and for this cert class, I have some instance variables: float price, character size, boolean as a sleeved. Okay, I have a class called cert, and there are some instance variables called prices, size, and sleeved. Along with I have some method called set size and get size, set price and get price here. Okay, these are some setter and getter method which is used to read and write the data. In the another side, you can see I have a variables called integer id, okay, which is the local variables, and I have a two object that I have created. Cert, my cert is equal to new cert, cert another cert is equal to new cert. So my cert and another cert, there are two different instances I have created for this class. So if this is the scenario, then where this object will store and where that instance variable will store, where that local variable will store, and where that object reference will be stored, that we'll discuss now. If you look into this down, I have a stack memory area and a heap memory area. So in stack memory area, as you can see, the ID has been stored in the stack memory as it is a local variables. Okay, and along with it store the reference of two different object that I created, my shot and another shot. Okay, so if you look into the heap memory, it stores the object along with its by default instance variables value. It stores the object along with its by default instance variables value, because I have not initialized any value to any one of the instance variable that is called price, size, and sleep, right? So it stored the default value of both the object, but its reference will store into the stack memory. Okay, so this is basically the overview of to understanding in details of the stack memory and as well as the heap memory. I hope you got a clear understanding about the importance of stack memory, why, how it is used, and about the heap memory as well. Please stop me and ask if you have any questions. Now let's move forward. Java running process. Let me next slide. Yeah. So whenever we'll start running the code, any Java applications, first we have to create a Java files, and you need to save the Java file with extension of .java with .java, that is extension of every Java program. And then first we need to compile the code before we execute it. So we are going to use Java compiler. Okay, and after that, once you compile the Java code, then you will get a binary bytecode file, that is a .class file, which contains the machine understanding language, and we call it a object file also, right? And that bytecode file is going to be used in different platforms, and every platform will have their own specific JVM is taking care of to execute this bytecode. Okay, so Windows will have its own specific JVM, Linux will have its own JVM, Mac OS will have its own specific JVM, that is a Java virtual machine. It's a part of a JRE. It is taking care of to execute the bytecode. It's taking care of to execute the bytecode and follow the certain step, like as you discussed before: load the code, verify the code, execute the code, provide runtime environment to produce the output and the system console. So what you have understood is Java is a platform independent or not? Yes, obviously Java is a platform independent. Java is a platform independent. Java is a platform independent. How? Because if I will save the bytecode of my operating system without you compile, I mean I can share only the bytecode file, not the source code, and the same bytecode file can be executed in a different operating system, or same operating system, no problem, right? So JVM is a platform dependent or not? JVM is a platform dependent or not? Not my question, interview questions here. As I said, day one, the entire training process is not only just to make you understanding the subject. In between, I will share some important questions that will help you for your interview selections, right? So JVM is a platform dependent or independent? JVM is a platform dependent. As you can see, Windows will have its own JVM, Linux will have its own JVM, Mac OS will have its own JVM. How I can get this JVM? When can I get this JVM? Whenever you will install the JDK. Whenever you will install the Java software, then you can see two folders will be created on your machine, that is the JDK and JRE. So already we understood about yesterday what is JDK and what is JRE. Yes or not? JDK is a development kit which contains Java compiler, Java documentation tools, and other stuff. All right. And JRE is basically a runtime environment specification which is taking care of only the execution of the code.
Sorry, may I ask you a question, please?
Please go ahead.
So are we now in JRE or?
JVM is a part of JRE. JVM is a part of JRE. You will get two folders on your machine. If you want to see, you can go to the C drive. If you are using the Windows, you can go to the C drive, and there you can see like JDK and JRE, two folder. Okay, so JDK is basically a development kit. JRE is runtime environment. JDK is a development kit. JRE is a runtime environment. In JVM is a part of JRE.
So my question is, when we run the code, we are not still on JDK. We are on JRE, which means, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's say if I have a source code, and that source code, if I want to compile in manually without using any IDE, Eclipse, or IntelliJ, or NetBeans, or something called STS. So if I have a program, and that program, how I can do just compile and run, yes, that we can do by using your command prompt. Okay, so we can just use that JavaC command, that is Java compiler, which help you to compile your source code. And once the compilation is completed, then you will get a success. If the compilation is successfully done, then you will get a bytecode file, that is your .class file, with the same name of the class. And then JVM basically come to the picture to interpret those .class file for screening to user, show the output in the console. So let me show you a small program that how it works. The same thing. Let's go ahead to create a small program to show you manually how it works. Later you can use the ID. That's not a problem. Me. Okay, let me use a editor, say Notepad editor I will use. Okay, so create a class. Class is basically a reserved keyword where we are going to start to writing the program always, and every class will have its own identifier. Next, every class will have its own structure. Inside the class, we introduce the variables, methods, anything that you want. Next, class is the entry point of the program, which represent with the name of the class which you are going to start, which you are going to save and start executing with the same name of it. Okay, so I have a class called hello class. Okay, and every class will have its own structure, I mean its own block. And as I said, inside the class we declare the variables, methods, constructor, whatever you are going to use, whatever that your requirement you need to define. Okay, so inside the class will have a such as let's say I just want to introduce a method here, a main method. And main method will have its own block. What is the use of method? Method is basically self-contained block of statement which will perform some task. Means whatever I will write within this block, that will be executed. So I'm going to write here a statement. And that is something I will say hello world. Okay, now let me save this code. And one more important is that without main method, the program will not be executed. You can just compile the code, but you cannot execute the code, because whenever you start execute, the JVM is looking for the main method. If the main method is there, then it will help to start execution. If not, we cannot execute. So I will save this code. Let me save in the D drive. And as I said, always we should save the class name. We should save the file with the class name. And as you know, Java is a case sensitive program. So we'll say I will use the same name hello.java and save the code. Okay, my program is saved. As you can see, hello. Save as all files. Let me save in C drive. No. Okay, so it's not giving permission. Let's save in the E drive. No issues. So we can see my program. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, voice remake system dot.
Okay. Now, how can I compile and execute by using the command prompt? So we say simply cmd. That will help me to open my command prompt. And what I can do, I can simply go to the directory where I show the program. So we say E drive. Yeah, E drive. Now we'll say Java C is a Java compiler. This is the command to compile my source code. We'll say hello.java. Okay, compile. I press enter button. Now let's see what will come out here. Yeah, so successfully it compiled my source code. Let me show you that. Let me go to my E drive here, and I can show you that .class file, which is a bytecode file. See here, this is a source code which I have saved here. Okay, just a few minutes back, 1 minute back, and this is a .class file. Let me just open this .class file. Let's see, is it a bytecode file? Let me just open it. Open it. What you can see here, some bytecode that my machine can understand here. My machine can understand those bytecode. Okay, so let's close this, and I'm going to use that bytecode Java, the command to execute the bytecode file. Hello. You can see your output call hello world is an output in the console. Okay, so if I will do anything mistake, then that will be throw an exception to the compilation. Let me remove this, and every time that we do modification, we need to save the code. So now let me compile once again, and it will throw definitely a compilation error because I have removed the semicolon. So it says that semicolon is expected, and this exception we call as a compilation error. Anything that will get an error, I mean the exception during the compilation, we call as a compilation exception or compilation error. Okay, or we can call it checked exception, so that you can check where exactly is missing and we can just fix it then and there, right? And if something that will get a exception during the runtime of the code, will got a we call as a runtime exception. So that we'll discuss later. Now let's come back to here. Successfully, you have already downloaded the JDK, and you have set up the environment variables, and that is not required. So if you want to know which version of Java that you are using, you can just use this command. You can just open command prompt. You can say Java hyphen version. Okay, so it will let you know which version of Java currently you are using. So in my machine, I'm using Java 1.8 version. Next, Eclipse also I shared link yesterday to download. I hope you have downloaded successfully Eclipse IDE. So when you open the Eclipse, first it will ask you to choose the directory. Means in which system directory you want to save the project or whatever the program that you are going to create. Okay, whatever we discussed just before, that is manually processed. We need to write the code in any editor. We compile and we execute manually everything by using the command prompt. It is a time-taking process. So instead of you do manually, we can use such IDE that is called integrated development environment. Okay, And that ID, you can, it helps you to basically create your project folder, compile, write the classes, compile, and execute the code or something, debugging the code, project deployment. So it makes you very easy to work on it. Okay, so here if you look into my Eclipse, let me show you. The moment you will open that Eclipse, when you double click on the Eclipse icon, then first it will ask you choose the system directory. Once you choose the system directory, then you can able to, then it will be appear the first your yeah, we can say the dashboard window. Okay, the front end part, and then you can see this look like, okay, the same kind of. But here I have a lot of project, we'll see the empty. Okay, and here I will show you basically how we can follow certain steps to create a Java project folder, how we can create a class, and the same program how we can just compile and run in the Eclipse. So step one, go to the file, select new, select a Java project, and it will appear this window, create a Java project folder. So I will show you how to create a new project folder. I will say Java application. Oh, it's already there. Java, we'll create some demo project, Java demo project, and make sure that you are using the JRE 1.8. Okay, so that will come from your, you have to select the Java EC 1.8. If it is something different, 16 or 17 or any other stuff, so make sure that it should be Java EC 1.8 and JRE 1.8. That is your specific JRE, which will help you to execute in this platform. And after that, you can just click on the finish button. And as you can see, my Java demo project is successfully created. You can see here where I'm putting my cursor. Java demo project is created, and as you can see, my JRE is comes up. My JRE also comes up here. JRE system library, that is comes by default, which help me to execute my bytecode. So next, I'm going to create a class, because as I said before, whenever you start writing the code, you should start from the class, and every class will have a name, right? So let me follow certain steps to create a class and how to compile and execute. So what you need to do, next step is right click on the project, select new class, right click on the project, select new class, and here you have to give the class name. Here you have to give the class name. Okay, so we'll say hello program. And as I said before, without main method, my program will not be executed, right? So you have to select this checkbox, public static void main, finish. So as you can see, I have not created any packages. What do you mean by packages? Packages is something, a collection of program. Okay. So here, as of now, I have not created any packages. So by default, it created default packages. And inside the default packages, my class has created hello program extension in .java. And as you can, this is my program. And inside that, I can write a statement. SYSO. You no need to write completely system.out.println. Simply you can say SYSO, that is system.out.println. And once you type SYSO, make sure the first S is the capital, and you will print the control space. I will show you one more time. SYSO control space, you will get system.out.println. And there within double quotation, I will write hello world program. Okay. And I have a save button here, you can see, or simply you can use Control S to save it. And then what I can do, I can execute this code, just click in this run button. So let's run this. And you can see the output will be appear into my console, my window console, hello world program. Okay, so I will write the code and output will be appear into the console. This is the place where you can design your class, you can write your business logic, writing the variables, method stuff, right? Everything will be go inside, and then once you execute, then the output will be appear always into the console here. But whenever you do such changes in your program, you need to save your code. You need to save the code here. Okay, without saving, if you simply execute, then it will be not reflect your modified, whatever you do, you have done the modification, that has not will be reflecting here. So here I can inside this main method block, I can declare anything. So just I'm writing some comment line. I can declare some variables. I can declare some variables to initialize the value. Initialize the value. Okay, and initialize the values. And next, I can write some logic. I can write some business logic. Logic as per requirement. As per requirement. As per requirements, I can write some business logic also here. Okay, so let me show you some variable declaration here. Let's say I can have a variable declaration is called integer variables. Okay, and name of the variable is always try to use a meaningful name, number, and I do variable initialize. I mean, the initialize the value to the number variables. Let's say 100, and I can use another variable also, number 1. And this is number 1, and this is number 2. And I can initialize some other values here, such as a 200, and I can use another variables called integer result. That is store the number 1 plus number 2, right? And then here we can just do the concatenation. So I want to print hello program. Along with, I would just want to do the concatenation of result. I will simply print the result here. Save the program. Now let me save it and execute. So what will print? Hello world program along with the addition of 2 number, that is 300. Yes, I got it, right? So we can do any number of arithmetic operations. We can use addition, subtraction, multiplication, anything else. Okay, so from Monday onwards, we'll continue further. We'll see understanding about some logical stuff that you apply, control flow statement, looping statement, working with arrays, and some business logic code that is related to during the interview, right? So what type of program that you expect to write some business logic, because every interviews simply they will not ask you some questions, right? So you can expect something kind of coding stuff or some coding challenges, right? And as a developer, how you can write some business logic by using some control flow looping statement. So that we'll discuss in details from Monday onwards. Any questions for me?
Hello, sir.
Sorry?
Yeah, I have one question. Can
Tell
I
me.
ask? Yeah, whenever we are designing any class file, and whenever we are designing a Java file, so my question is that that means the class file name, and whatever Java file name should be same.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
It should be okay. Thank you.
Always you should save your class, your program with the class name only, whatever the class you declare. Clear?
Thank you. Yeah, clear.
Okay, so have a good weekend.